Hi, Etepwakuin of Etepwakuin is the place to be reviews. And before we get into this article today about comic book pros and Twitter and things, I had a chance to sit down and actually talk to Kelly Sue DeConnick, who kind of rewrote the character of Carol Danvers. So this is some excerpts of things she had to say to me when I sat down to talk to her.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
This is always when people are like, would you please get your politics out of my comic books? I'm like, what comic books are you reading? Captain America is a social justice warrior. I know you mean that as an insult, but there's just no, like, that is the definition of what he is, you know? And if...
Hey, what are you doing, buddy? Like, no further questions, guy. Leave Miss Sue DeConnick alone. Leave her alone, I said. There's nothing here for you. Leave, see?
Here we are bounding into comics. Mark Millar allegedly told 95% of the comic book audience is not on Twitter. Says statistic must be mind-blowing for the marketing departments. Oh, and I bet the big two over at Marvel and DC are just sweating this out right now. Like, how dare he speak these facts, these reckless facts, to the plebeians out there who needn't not concern themselves with such things, only buying our books. Nobody wants your shit. That's why they rot on shelves and sit in bargain bins at, third-party retail outlets like Ollie's and things of the like. So here we go. Spencer McCooley, this came out yesterday. Sorry about the lack of content yesterday. We had a mix-up in scheduling twice, so that's why there was no stream last night, no Prodigal Son review. It'll all be rectified. No worries, no bother. Everything is fine. We will make up for it, though. You have a Galaxy High School review coming tomorrow, but only after I get done power washing my house.
You serious?
Veteran comic book writer Mark Millar has claimed he was recently informed by a marketing expert connected to one of the big two publishers that 95% of the comic book audience is not on Twitter. A revelation which he believes must be mind-blowing for the company marketing departments. Well, given everything we've seen, everything we've heard from these big comic, retailers, the big two, is that we're basically scumbags and, they don't want our money, so.
The end is nigh! The end is nigh! F***ing run away! The end is nigh!
Millar revealed this supposed statistic on May 28th, retweeting from his personal Twitter account. Here's an amazing stat I heard yesterday. Only 10% of comic buyers have Twitter accounts, and only half of those accounts are actually active. So that's 5%, ladies and gentlemen. 5%. You know how Booker T was the 5-time WCW World Champion?
Are you fucking high?
Thus, 95% of the comic book audience is not on Twitter, which must be mind-blowing to the company marketing departments, he continued, seemingly commenting on the recent turn by many publishers, including Marvel, DC, and even heavy metal, towards ignoring, and in some cases even outright insulting their established fan bases in favor of appealing to imagined audiences on social media. Yes, these imaginary audiences that don't spend money on the product that you gear specifically and tailor specifically towards them, ignoring the 95% of your audience who actually spends their hard-earned dollars on your product. But we're the bad people. The Nemesis creator also drew attention to how once you factor in the average person follows so many people that comic pros are easily to miss, you just quickly realize Twitter is just a fun way to meet and chat with people who share our various passions as opposed to a genuine marketing tool.
What a story, Mark.
Which he's right. It is a great way to connect with people. If it wasn't for Twitter and my becoming more active on Twitter, I wouldn't be connected to half of the creators that I'm connected to. And that's the one thing I am happy and blessed to have accomplished on using Twitter. The other half is just trolling weirdos and trying to get blocked by Caroline Dries. When asked by a Twitter user if he could provide details on who he received this information from, Millar only revealed it was a good pal of mine from a marketing at one of the big two, and then added he was really surprised by this too. But then he said the amount of comic buyers on Twitter is even on the slide from there, according to their parent company, Deep dives make little impact on units, which is fascinating, Millar further asserted. So you can see here that this marketing strategy by these mainstream comic book retailers is completely flawed from its very point of origin, because as they said, they're trying to appeal to this imaginary audience. And the same can be said about the Marvel movies and, you know, these other movies and forms of media that we're seeing. Look at how they deconstructed and ruined Watchmen. I'm not a huge Watchmen fan. I've never read the graphic novel. I've seen the movie a couple times. I enjoy it. I know it's Zack Snyder. I know, but that one was really good. And everybody that I heard that reviews the show, that is, you know, loves the source material, said it was just trash. Overly woke trash, for the sake of being woke. So, and the same is going for the comics. I mean, we all know the story, what they're doing with the comics and the mainstream. And Kelly, like I said, Kelly Sue DeConnick in our interview said that, you know, what comics you're reading, they've always been political. But they're not ham-fisted and poorly written because the writers have no talent or ability. You know, the messaging was subtle, but these people don't understand subtlety and nuance. So,
yes, every single thing I say offends them.
Who are you calling them?
in response to another user who broached the topic of the well-documented trend of comic book professionals using their social media platforms to engage in divisive antagonistic behavior, Millar stated, "Some people stagger through the streets screaming at clouds, ignore them and focus on the fun stuff." And he's right. And that's a problem with some of us, is that we can't focus on the positive. And that's what my 80s series is all about, is focusing on the positive. But I still feel it behooves me to bring you these pop culture videos, is you've seemed to have a renewed interest in them as of late on the channel, so here they are. Remember why you got into comics in the first place, the thrill of your first convention, and the thousands of people who love this just as much as you do, wrote Millar. "I've never been interested in the various Twitter wars, and this puts the whole thing in perspective." And he's right. Laying bare how the given conclusion from the newly revealed statistic that a baseline of 95% of your readers just want to read high-quality comics, Millar concluded, that's what this is all about. Twitter should just be a virtual Comic-Con where we all catch up with each other. In theory, that's a great idea, but we all know how that ends up. Isn't this what we've been saying all along? And these people wouldn't listen? That Twitter represents such a small minority of the actual people and customer base that is already out there spending money on these IPs. But no, the creatives in charge, the powers that be, didn't want to listen because they want to reach out and grab for this imaginary audience that isn't there, that doesn't spend money, that only does things that are free. And Twitter only represents such a small minority of the people out there that aiming for that customer base is really trying to catch a falling star. It doesn't happen. It's ridiculous. And it's an insult to us as customers, which is why it's so important to develop our own projects and our own IPs and our own things and content out there for people to enjoy. I'm Etepo Queen of the Place to Be Reviews. I've been here with all of yous. And remember, if I don't see ya, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow, and I'll catch you on the next one. And it's always better to burn out than fade away.